staked. So I have a little bit of it right now, but if I had $1,000, I would market buy Sol and mint this LST Sol.
Hmm.
How about
Okay,
you?
that's
Or give
interesting.
me your feedback on your take. And
No. That's interesting because someone asked me the same question and the other day, and I always find it hard to answer that question at market all time highs, even though I know that every day by not selling, I'm making a decision to like hold, which is basically a buy, so to speak. Like there's a mental separation that you have, but every day you choose to hold a coin, you're basically saying, if I had this cash right now, I would buy this coin at this price. So I mean, one thing that was different yesterday than today was that as of yesterday, Sol was at I think 256, 258 when I was having this call with another with some prospective client, and in my head I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to break the all time high we hit in November, which was 263, and this morning, 7 a.m. I wake up, I check the price, and this thing is at 290. Right. And so I'm like, wait, something like what's going on? And so I look, and now we're back to 267 or whatnot. But the fact that it has hit 290 tells me that we're gonna hit it again. So now I'm actually a little bit, I'm more I'm less fearful about the fact that it's an all-time high, because now technically we're below the all-time high, right? And I just feel like I don't see how this Trump coin exists and is relatively successful, and people just don't pile on this narrative, this meta of personified tokens. Like it's just like musicians, everyone's gonna do it, right? Because in the past, people were scared of being accused of selling unregistered securities, and that's something that a bunch of high profile artists got into trouble for in 2021, and now the president is doing it. It's just like, well, everyone's eyes on it. It's like, it's okay. The whole administration is pro crypto, pro innovation, pro tech, pro gambling, honestly. And it's like, what tokens are going to benefit from that? And one, it's anything that benefits from volatility. So the JLPs of the world, of the world, but then also Solana, because like every time there's a trade, and you're paying your Sol fees, or you're borrowing Sol to long a meme coin, and charging a fee for that, or paying a fee for that, it all accrues back to Sol. So my biggest concern, honestly, or my biggest uh, the thing I kind of think about the most is like, if Sol or JLP is the better buy. Like, am I better off buying Sol, or do I buy JLP and just like lever it up if I wanted to get increased yield?
what's the answer, do you think, is that question? If I can really quick, I don't think that I buy anything. I think that, considering that my portfolio is JLP is the asset that, if we were to say that I only have exposure to JLP right now in my portfolio, that wouldn't be an incorrect statement.
Mhm.
So I think for me, I have an opportunity to maybe just lend my JLP and just try to find high yielding opportunities to continue accumulating JLP. So I'm not really in a position where I have to kind of do that mental calculus of asking myself whether or not I want to have exposure to JLP versus Sol. I'm definitely overexposed to JLP, so I need to find a way to increase my exposure to Solana. But I'm not going to market buy Solana. I'm not going to buy anything right now.
Mhm.
I want to try to find ways to play with these super hot narratives, but use USDC. And
Okay.
maybe if there's a way for me to use USDC and have some rewards and be able to sell off those rewards, then I would take those rewards and sell them into Solana so that I can go after some of these trades. But I'm not just going to take my JLP and sell it for Sol,
Mhm.
because I know that prices right now are completely unsustainable.
Mhm.
And that's not to be a bear. I think it's to be realistic and understand where I am personally in relation to what's happening out in the market. There's a lot of speculation, and I'm loving this. I'm loving seeing the price action on everything in the crypto space. I'm happy that a lot of people are here. They're experimenting. They're figuring out how cool crypto is. But for me right now, I know that we've been here before. We're going to get a great correction. And I'm taking notes on places where I would be comfortable taking some of my JLP and maybe trading it for USDC or trading it for Sol. But to kind of wrap that up and put a bow on it, I'm not buying anything right now.
So I think I asked you this question last time. At what price would you buy Sol?
I think I would like to see a 20% drawback on the price of Sol.
20%
And I,
drop from what?
yeah,
From the all-time high, or from what?
from its all-time high.
Okay, so let's assume the all-time high was 290 this morning. So you're looking at price of 232. I
I would
call,
like to, I would like to see it come down more than that, and I
that's what I'm
don't
saying.
think that
I'm
that's an
gonna call bullshit on your 20%. I might put a number
no,
on your ass
no,
like that.
I don't think that it's unfeasible. I mean,
Oh no,
if you're going to
totally
jump
think
over,
I totally think it's feasible, but I don't see you buying it at anything over 200 for one.
yeah,
Um, and it's not a screaming buy to me until it hits like 140, 130, right? Like that's where it's like, okay, you know, I think that was like the floor from the last time it like went down.
mhm.
Um, so when you say that this price is unsustainable, I I wrestle with that because sure we could dip, but boy, could we go up to 370? Like actually, right now, my base case is that Solana goes up to 370.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And that just means I'm on the side. That just means I'm on the sidelines because I know that as soon as I capitulate and buy Sol,
Mhm.
it won't be soon thereafter. I mean, look at these numbers. We're
Yeah,
talking about Solana being up 40%. And I do appreciate you calling me bullshit because that's just half of the price movement that Solana's experienced in a day. So, or I'm sorry, in 7 days. So you know what? Yeah, I really appreciate you having that. Like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're not gonna take it, you know, backtracking. Today's Sunday. You're not gonna take it backtracking to what it was. Um, let's say on Wednesday for you to be like, yeah, like oh yeah, like this is the perfect in. It's like, no, like this needs to come down a lot. It's more than this 40%. So yeah, I foot and mouth for even saying 20%. I need these prices to really come back in line with what makes sense for the way that I feel comfortable with these markets. And I do believe that there are, because there's so much happening in the market, there's other opportunities rather than just hitting buy in your Phantom wallet or going to Jupiter and just doing a spot trade simply to hold this token or do something else. So
so what if you if so the assumption is that you're not trying to take any sort of volatility risk with the funds you have, which means that you're fine with stablecoin lending yields. What would you say is sort of like your threshold for like an appealing APY when you deposit a stablecoin?
mm,
10, 15, 20, 30%?
I would like to see at least 10%. But of course, I want to make sure that it's in a pool that has decent liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, with everything that's happening right now, liquidity seems to be quite abundant. Um, but yeah, I don't want anything that is below double digits, and I think that that's a pretty reasonable ask. How about yourself?
So I think 20% is kind of like it's where it looks interesting to me. Anything below that is like, I could just. So the reason why I say 20% is because anything below that I could probably get at any of the major lending pools without. That's not true. I can get at least 10% at the the margin fives, the Aves, the Caminos, without taking that much more smart contract risk, right? Like, so if I'm gonna go out and use any of these like newer platforms, I want to see at least 20%. And right now, DeFi Tuna, for example, on USDC is giving 26%. So
If you
that
can get in.
can you not get in? Uh,
I was able to get in. I
two,
think
there's a $2,000 opening right now.
yeah. I mean, if you have, if you're sitting at $25,000, and is it worth your time to have to go into your Excel sheet and say I only have 2 grand here in DeFi Tuna, or just like you're saying, like go over to Aave, where you can just go ahead and put your $25,000 in there. You're going to be getting far below that 10%. But I'm just at, I'm just trying to poke at you here. Like
Yeah, no,
how would you think about the opportunity to just put $2,000 into the protocol right now?
I would 100% do it. And the reason why, so between DeFi Tuna, NX Finance, Andrestia, Exponent Finance, Radex, these are all places where I can get double-digit returns on USDC. I have maybe like $1,000 spread across those things, and it's primarily for testing. Honestly, it's not really, it's not. I don't care as much about the yield, but it's for testing, it's for learning. And there's a couple of things I've learned. One is, um, first of all, rate X and Exponent, like lock up your funds if you're doing the fixed yield or liquidity stuff. If you don't want to, if you want to guarantee the returns. Andrestia, I think, charges you a fee when you take the money out. And so because of that, I'm just like, well, I might as well just leave it in there and like, let it compound. Because if I took it out, you know, I'll probably want to put it back in at some point again. So I do that for a month, 2 to 3 months before I actually deploy like a good amount of cash, because I want to see, are these numbers actually correct. So for example, with leverage, you said it's giving 41.9%, but the tricky thing about that number is that I think it's the returns since inception. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're going to get. So for example, let's say the returns for yesterday was 0%. That number from 41.9 goes down to maybe like 39 because it reduces the all-time thing. So what I did is I have a spreadsheet where when I put in money into leverage, I mark what the price of SOL was relative to LST SOL. And every time I like go back and look at the portfolio, I update that number, and then it helps me. It calculates what the APY has been since I deposited, right? And that's why I recommend it, because indeed the APY has actually been 40 as of today. Like I was earlier while I was also talking to you, I updated the number and it was like 40.9 or something like that. But as of last week, it was like 33. So in the last 2 or 3 days, there's been so much activity, so much borrowing and lending and longing and shorting of meme coins that it like made up 10% worth of uh of returns, and that is on all of my funds that have been there for the last like month or two. So that's huge. I don't everywhere else, the most I'm seeing is like 30-ish%. That's the most I'm seeing, 30%. But like there's all these new places that have so lavish, I think, is like, it just like the thesis just like makes so much sense. And I'll tell the viewers to go look at the video we made on it, because that's when I was super passionate when I was describing it. I'm not gonna repeat that again. But leverage is like it's like probably like my biggest alpha within the Solana space. And so right now, when this space opened up, part of the reason why I'm trying to like get rid of my meme coins, bonk, and whatever is because I want to deploy more here. Because if I can, I'd rather just take this solid 40% than try and find the next 100,000x. I just don't have time. Like I don't have the time. I don't have the insight to be able to ape in and sell at the right time and all that. Like I've just never succeeded doing things that way. Like my skill is finding things that I think are gonna last for a long time, put money in there and just wait. I got patience like no other, right? But I can't go in, go out, whatever. So leverage is highly recommended. DeFi Tuna, my problem with DeFi Tuna is that the supply APY keeps like fluctuating, and I don't like that. and that's also a problem that's happening in Camino now with Camino Multiply. So right now the returns are high. I think it's like
Are we talking about just so I can pull up the right chart? Are we still referring to USDC? And do we want to look at DeFi tuna? You kind of give a little criticism or mention that the APY. Are we in DeFi tuna's lending protocol or
yeah,
lending section
yes,
where you're not getting what you'd like to see?
yeah, DeFi tuner lending. So for example, if you scroll down, yeah, so for ETH, for example, ETH at one point had was like a 28% APY, and I was like, holy smokes, I can arbitrage this thing. And so I set up like a little arbitrage to test, and by the next day I came back, it was at like 2%. So I was like losing money, and I was like, oh dang, now I gotta switch back and like reverse that whole thing. And so when you have variable rates like this, it forces you to always be clicking, which I don't necessarily like. I like a little bit of stability. Um, so yeah, so even with the USDC has generally been high relative to other vaults or other places that I could deposit those funds. So I'm relatively comfortable. Maybe after this call, I might deploy some funds here. Um,
I have so when we're talking about me not being excited about going and just market buying Solana, I can't fight the fact that this is a really good time to learn and play with toys that I haven't before.
mhm,
I think a good example of my willingness to do that was Drift, where I was like, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to teach myself. And now I have a little bit more comfort and a little bit more knowledge. So I did put on some little tiny, dinky ass $50 trades.
mhm.
Um, did um, this close out? No, I'm still in range. Um,
This is the Sol USDC LP.
yep, yep. So this is the Sol USD USDC LP. And just super briefly, I mean, I don't think it hurt. I don't think it will hurt to just briefly mention, you know, DeFi Tuna. It's a concentrated liquidity protocol. Um, $50, $50. Opened up took $50 that I had just sitting in Camino. Um, and I actually need to look at that position because I think I'm not getting a whole lot of yield from Camino. But I just grabbed $100 from Camino, and I'm like, hey, everything's blown up, or not everything's blown up, but there's a lot of market activity. This is a great time for me to play, and levered it up, and I get to look at the screen and see what's happening. And I feel like this is what everybody should be doing right now. If I see this blow up and I lose $200, I mean, screw it. But I'm gonna put on a stop loss. The really cool thing about this platform is that you can enter your limit orders to have a stop loss or have a take profit.
Yeah.
But there's been some trouble, and the only reason I say this is not to explain how the platform works, but me trying to use DeFi Tuna. If you guys do go out there and decide to experiment and play with DeFi Tuna, is that I have found with when you try to open your position, if you do have your limit orders during the creation of the position, you might have a hard time actually getting the trade to open. I've been getting a lot of transaction failed messages, so I will just give that to you guys as a note. If you guys do go and try to create a new position, you have this tab down here, and I can make a separate video about it. But we're not trying to get into the weeds. But if you do go ahead and click this toggle here and set your limit orders when you're creating the new position, you might run into some issues. There's a lot of network congestion right now with all the activity. So just try turning that off. And then when your position is actually open, definitely go and set your limit order so that when things turn against you, you can minimize your losses.
Yeah, cool. I've always like never done well with liquidity pools. And but the only one that looks attractive to me here is this Sol CBBTC one. So that has like a high fee, and then it keeps me within Sol and CBBTC. So instead of trying to like just seek yield wherever, I can just assume that the liquidity fee here is going to be enough to compensate for, the change in values of both tokens. And ultimately, I want to own BTC at the end of the cycle. So I don't mind if as SOL goes up, it gets sold into CBTC. It's just a matter of like finding the right parameters and making sure it doesn't, you're maximizing your fees. And I don't know if I have the time to manage it, but like that's the only one that seems kind of interesting to me here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe USDC, USDT, depending on, I don't like, they don't tell you what the yield is. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there's no way for me to tell what the returns are from being in this pool just by looking at this. Partially.
Oh, like your personal, like a portfolio tab?
No. Like before I deploy funds here, it's like I cannot look at the historical numbers for whatever strategy I select.
Yeah, they'll need to add that. To their credit, I try to give people a lot of leeway. It just seemed there are some features, some quality of life features that they should definitely add, including that.
I just actually found something else because I was trying to like answer my question on what I just asked you. And if you go to Camino Finance and the liquidity tab, and this is to answer your question on ways to maximize your stablecoin value.
All right.
All right.
And
Click on liquidity. Click on stables.
stay.
Is that the end of that? Yeah. And click on 7-day fees APY. So it ranks them in descending order. So you look at where it said the USDT USDC pool at 7-day APY of 58%. Looks pretty attractive.
Hell yeah.
All
So
right.
perfect example, guys, of TC always being able to find us super great insights on not just exactly what we should be looking at, but how we can interact with it in a really meaningful way. Like, I didn't know this. I just learned something. But here we have a super low risk USDT, USDC providing liquidity on Camino. 7-day 7-day average fee APY is at 59%. That sounds absolutely insane. 1.29 million is already in the pool. So if you're coming in with a couple of grand, I don't see why you would have a hard time getting out if you needed to. But yeah, great
And
find there, TC.
the 24-hour is greater than 99%. Obviously a lot of stuff went down like in the last 2 days or whatnot. But the beauty about a pool like this is that even in the unwind, you're still going to make money because like you're staying in stable. So people are the ones, the other farmers, the other traders are the ones switching between USDC and USDT, and you just kind of sit in spot. So the reason why I'm really interested in what we're talking about here regarding stables is that I've had people come up to me and I talk about crypto a lot. I talk about like the earnings you can make from it. But I was talking to someone I would consider a prospective client because I'm always thinking like, okay, how would I manage funds if it's for someone else that has a different risk profile than I? And the person said something to the tune of, I have Ethereum. I have like 5 figures in Ethereum, and Ethereum is not performing. I see Bitcoin is going up. And then I tell them about Solana, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. I want to sell all of my Ethereum to Bitcoin and Solana." And I'm like, I don't know. Like Ethereum might have its comeback this year, and they're like, okay, maybe I can like sell a portion and And then we got talking, and then at one point they said something to the tune of, "You know what? If I could get like a guaranteed 20% on my stables, I'll be fine." And that clicked the bell for me because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could get 20% for, I can get more than 20% for someone. And yeah, it's just like finding where, it's like, where is my operational advantage. And I think just finding some of these tokens and understanding the teams, understanding the risks around the protocol, how many audits have they had, if someone is building on top of MarginFi, are they in talk to the MarginFi team? Is the MarginFi team sort of supporting their development? How new are they? A 10% in MarginFi might be equivalent to, like a 15-20% in another newer protocol, right? So yeah, like, I mean, that's kind of what the job is. And like, if I'm doing that, then I don't have time to be in the trenches of the meme coin trenches, right? Because I'm trying to be able to deploy 100K at a time. Like, I can't do that with meme coins. I just don't know enough, and I can't manage that. So it's stables and the big three for me: Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. Um, Trump might be the wild card meme coin, but it's pumped a lot.
I mean,
Pumped a lot. I
yesterday
know that it can still go another 5x from here.
it
So,
it could, but I mean, call me call me whatever you want. Um, I don't feel like I'm in a position where I want to go and chase those things.
I agree.
I want to get my floor back under myself as a crypto investor before I start going out on that risk curve. And I know that there's so many other people that would do it so different, but that's just not what I'm about. I also don't want to be in the trenches so that me and you can put out our content to bring people these amazing insights that you're able to create for us. So I don't want to be chasing meme coins and losing money on meme coins.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like it would be more productive for me to, wrap up my degree here coming up in April, and then you and I sit down and build out this media platform that we have an amazing opportunity to create. And yeah, I think that that's more where my rationale comes in is, do I want to be chasing meme coins, or do I want to edit me and TC's video so that I can get it up on the channel? I mean, sometimes it can take me 20 minutes to get a thumbnail finished. Other times it'll take me an hour to get a thumbnail finished. So, how do you want to spend your time, TC? Are we going to build a asset management, or a media firm that's educational about asset management, or are we going to be one of those moon boys that are always shilling meme coins that are super low liquidity, so that as soon as we pump them to the moon a little bit, we dump on all of our audience?
I mean, I think the media side of things is like the gateway to other things, right? So once you've got the attention of people, now you can become an advisor to projects, right? Now you can offer courses on a particular protocol. Um, Now you get access to token sales. Did you hear about the AI accelerate token?
No, tell I may have I have I think I know what you're about to get at, but tell us
Yeah,
what's
so the
going
long
on.
and short of it is, how the whole AI agent meta has been, going out. There's this guy called Ejaz, and he's been working with the Bankless folks. They have this like AI series, and he just comes in, kind of like what I do with you. He has a ton of information, tweets, websites, and protocols, and he's just talking about like everything he's learned with the AI stuff. And then him and his team decided to create like a DAO, an AI DAO, and they, gave a few influencers some allocation. Like, I think the max was 2 SOL, which is about $400. And apparently this thing went from zero to like 100 billion in like a day. So that 2 SOL turned into 400,000. So right, so that's 1,000x. And all you had to do was be influential enough that they let you invest in them, right? So that's how you become like an angel investor. So like, that's like, long story short, but that's like one of my dream things, where like, I'm I'm the guy supporting founders who are building things that I think are cool, right? And so but you sort of need a little bit of credibility that you know what you're talking about, and have the eyeballs that you can actually push a product if it's something that aligns with your ethics and whatnot. Um, and then the managing money side is like, yeah, at that point, if you have access to all these projects, you will not always have the funds to fully allocate, right? Like if you have a Google and they're looking for 100K and you only have 10K, maybe it might be worth raising money to make the other 90K because you think this thing is worth it, right? And that's where that would then tie in the education and the supporting businesses and the actual investment all into one pie. So that's how I kind of see this being a thing, and it's
Just being able to give people well-informed, well-intentioned, or well-intended information so that folks can navigate the markets, because it is overwhelming. I feel overwhelmed, um, especially being cross chain. I do think that that is a superpower for me. That is, um, I feel like that's very helpful for me to like to like manage the stress of being on chain. At any given time, I can open up my Rabby wallet and see all of those tokens are pumping to the moon, and then I can look at um, my Solana tokens, and they're tanking. But then I can sit down with you or sit down with myself and read through X and go into the discords of these projects and be like, this is just what's happening. But there's so much that's happening at any given time. If we can give folks just like a little bit of information on what's going on, it's super helpful. And I don't think that we need to cover ETH and BTC and all of that big shit all the time. I do think that um, our niche is going out and finding some of these newer projects, or things that folks may not be super comfortable when they're dipping their toes into DeFi.
there's a guy, DeFi Dad, that does the same for Ethereum, where he just goes around and like finds protocols. And actually, I watched his year end video, just to get a sense of what's going on in the Ethereum world. To your point, it does make sense to look across these different protocols, because then you can actually see the difference or feel the difference or observe the difference between the communities, the apps. On my end, it's like it's so stressful that I don't do it. But what I do is I follow I try to follow the DeFi developments in Ethereum, because I think whatever, at the end of the day, whatever Ethereum develops, because you're like pretty much very high research, whatever they develop, because they're also a couple of years ahead of Solana in development, will eventually get built on Solana. So for example, Exponent.finance, and the reason why I started testing it was because um I don't know if I forget now if I sent you that message, but there's the restaking platform, which, to be honest, I don't really understand restaking. I mean, I understand it at the basic level. You're taking a stake token and you're staking it again, and you're getting more yield. But KY Soul had an open. So right now it's capped in terms of how much you can generate, and so they open it up. Actually, honestly, I don't remember if it was KY Soul or Ren Soul now, but one of them opened up and they had incentives on Camino, and they had incentives on Camino that let you deposit this liquid restaking token and borrow Jito Soul against that, and then loop it. And after that loop, you're getting like maybe 40-50% on Soul. So I did that with some funds. But then it also got me. I was looking at all the places where you could use this KY Soul, and I came here, and 27% on fixed. So this is not going to change for the next 145 days. It's pretty appealing, because remember, I told you, when you're on Camino and that thing is fluctuating based on the borrow rate or whatever, then you're never sure what you're going to get at the end of the on staking period, or the staking period. So this was very cool. But then click on where it says liquidity, because right now we're getting 27.22 if we just like deposited the KY Soul. But if you click on liquidity, you would see that it's much higher, right? So that KY Soul, when you provide liquidity for the principal token and the yield token, now you're getting 43.19%. Now, if you hover over that APY, I think they have some caveats there. Yeah, so there was one, I don't know, I thought it was Exponent where there was like a weird reward they added that like made the numbers seem more attractive than they actually are. But in this case, I don't think that's what is there. So this looks like you're gonna make an actual 43%. So what I did when I see high numbers like this that look almost unbelievable, I put a bunch of money in there, wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and see am I actually making money, and can I withdraw that money, and how long does it take? Is it all fine? So this one would unstake in June. So whatever funds I put in here for testing, I wouldn't know until June, unless I take it out and try to sell it and blah blah blah. But the point I'm trying to make here is that like 43% KY SOL is looking pretty good.
That's
That's
very healthy.
solid. Yeah, that's a pretty solid deal.
That's
Now,
very
again,
healthy. Any idea what the TVL of this platform is? Looks like there's a half a mil in
yeah,
there. Just for our viewers, TC will give his take in a sec, but I don't want anything that isn't at least a quarter mil, I'd say, in liquidity.
I actually don't look at liquidity that much.
No,
For the most part, by the time I join in, because DeFi Tuna had okay, I guess I wasn't looking at the TVL of the whole platform. I was just looking at the pool I was in. Um, I think for me, it's just more like, okay, or is what they're doing, does it make sense? Do I understand where the yield is coming from? I look at their socials and everything, or they look like they have good history and blah blah. They've been around for at least like 6 months to a year, or whatever. And then I put in a few $100. Like I don't even care. I put in a few $100, and then that forces me to like checking on them, and then I see how they follow up over time. Um, their posts. Maybe I might look at their Telegram very briefly or their Discord. But it's not like a lot of my research is, do I like this site? Does it seem legit on Twitter? Are they being posted, reposted, their comments? And then I put in money, and am I making money? Like once I start making money, then it's like, then
it's
we're
on.
kind of good. Yeah, it's on. Because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't freaking know what they do. Like I know that they're always posting about like adding new coins, but I don't like it seems to have been working so far, and so we're good. And if it's a rug, then it's a rug. But most times, unless they're hacked, which very very surprisingly, there hasn't been any hack. The last hack I remember from here was in Solana was Cipher Protocol back in, was it early 2023?
I've already started playing with Leverage. I think the extent that I'll use Leverage, I think Leverage and Leverage. We'll see what the uh, the dev team gives us for it. But the extent that I'll be using that protocol is to mint their LST sol so that I can get that yield. And then DeFi Tuna, I think I'm going to keep on playing with the concentrated liquidity, keep on putting on some trades. Um, I mean, again, $50. I put this on, it's like 1 o'clock. I woke up at like 11. I've had a little bit of a cold, so I took some NyQuil and it put me into comatose, but I've made a couple of dollars. I am just learning how to use this. I don't know much about exactly how to trade concentrated liquidity, but of course, me having money here, I keep on pulling up the docs. I keep on any little question that I have. I'm trying to find answers, looking through their X, looking through their Discord, and this is what you guys need to do: is don't just ape into things. TC, give me in just a second. Give me your take on how much money you should do on a particular play. I try to be like, in like the 1% range and things like that. I try to do something where it's like a round number. So, like 1% of my entire portfolio, a flat $50. But I know with slippage and stuff like that, I'll do like $51.
Yeah.
But guys, go out and play with some of these things so that you understand what to do, and then as you know what's going on, size accordingly and go for it.
Yeah, the my easy trick here is I, for the most part, if I'm trying out a new platform, I normally do, like you said, round numbers, but I do round numbers of like 10, 100, 1,000, because that way I can look at the number immediately and see how much I've made and calculate the percent per day or whatever. Um, yeah, that's the one little hack there. It's fairly straightforward. I put in money that is like relatively trivial, but enough that I kind of care. So like that's probably going to be like around like $100. Yeah. There's no other crazy thing I do with in terms of learning. Like you just have to like understand that this is like tuition, and this tuition it's most time gonna yield you more money if you do it at the right time. Like, obviously right now we're at all-time highs, so it might be less so than 2 years ago. But generally speaking, like I think this is just like I just find it fascinating, right? Like, but I also find finance and tech super fascinating. So maybe I'm not like the regular person, but like this is super cool stuff. And
Mm. Is this one like Pendle? Dude, Pendle's going
yeah,
ape right now,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Pendle's
I mean,
going
X
ape.
X-Men's also so Rate X and Sandglass, the one below it. So X-Men, Rate X, and Sandglass are all Pendle like protocols on Solana.
When you're talking about these markets, are you locking up your token in exchange for yield?
Yes.
Like
Think
you're
about it.
taking like the immediate yield, but then your token is being go
No,
ahead.
no. You're basically it's like a bond. It's like a zero coupon bond, which you wouldn't know if you don't know anything about finance. But basically, what they're saying is, hey, you can buy $100 in 3 months from now for $90 now. So you pay $90 now, and I'm going to give you $100 in 3 months. That's all this is saying. Well, that's if you're on the dollar part of it. That's for the soul part. Obviously, it's you get a certain amount of soul in 3 months if you pay a lesser value of that amount now. That's how you get the fixed yield. And on the back end, they're selling the variable yield to someone else for another price. And so like the interaction between those two things is what gives one person a fixed yield, and the other person is sort of like a leverage on the yield of the yield generating token.
Mm.
So it took me a long time to understand this. I've known about this concept for like 2 years, and I only just got it like maybe last month or so. And that's when I got the confidence to like actually start testing it. And but if it works, it's gonna be huge because it solves like a big problem in crypto where it's like you're borrowing USDC. Like I'm borrowing USDC, and the interest rate can go anywhere from 9% to 25%. And it's like at that point, what are you gonna do? Like you can't your money's locked in. And if you don't have any other funds to pay it back, then a position you entered that looked profitable is now underwater, and you just kind of have to wait it out.
And this is great for those situations like myself where I have a lot of JLP.
Mhm.
I have no intention of selling it anytime soon.
Yeah,
And if anytime soon or no or yeah, not if not anytime soon is um, at or beyond 160 days, it might be worth me going into this market here where I'll instantly get 24% on my JLP.
yeah. So that's something I think will gain more popularity. I'm not gonna lie, I'm slightly in the camp of like the 4 year cycle is gonna be a little bit muted. In
Mm.
fact, I wouldn't be opposed to us topping out at say like 140, 150 Bitcoin, and just kind of like ranging between 100 and 150 for the next year or two or three, and then a slow grind up, something like that. Because this whole bear market thing is like takes a toll. uh, Trying to time the top, time the bottom, all that. Um, yeah. So my end goal, honestly, is to be maximally allocated to BTC, and then what so I see BTC as a store of value. So it's like have all my store of value in BTC, and then I have another allocation to things that are yield generating. So that's the JLPs, that's the Solanas, that's USDC, right? Like, and the goal is to generate yield from there and then like move it into BTC, like, and just totally remove myself from the fiat world. Like, I just like have credit cards and like just pay back everything from what I'm getting from the store of value and yield generating sort of not even a barbell, but dual strategy portfolio. So like I'm still trying to consolidate all of my different borrow lend accounts that I have on Margin I have like 7 or 8, just trying to test out different strategies. And like it's fun to do, but like I don't think I'm making more money for what it's worth. It helps me learn, the different platforms. But like from a best use of my time for revenue generation is just like just hold BTC and get Solana. You're good. And then just like freaking put money every 2 weeks with your salary. Like you do better than jumping around these hoops.
Yeah, have a good job, advance in your career, do whatever you need to do there. Have money that you can actually put into the market that you're not afraid to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And find a strategy, right? Have principles, and be able to sit down with somebody and rationalize what you're doing in the market. And it sounds like, um, for you, everything boils down to BTC. BTC is God. So if nothing else, just buy BTC and experiment and play. And but if all else fails, buy BTC when you get your paycheck
Mm-hmm.
and hodl.
I think JLP is going to be I'm calling JLP for next cycle.
I love JLP.
Yeah, the only problem with JLP right now is that it's new and smart contract balls, diggy da. I also heard people say that like it's expensive, so in the future maybe they would get out competed. But I don't know. I don't see that.
Do you know more about like that? Like the logic behind it, like the logic behind it being expensive and da da da.
Well, I guess opening and closing positions. So it's more expensive. It might be more expensive to do that on because Jupiter doesn't do funding rates. They just like charge with the long and the, and the short side, and that's partially why JLP is profitable.